So let's talk about the Detroit Pistons and the fact that they won a game. I'm sorry for that intro, but yeah, so let's talk about the Pistons. They won a game yesterday against the very highly discombobulated Washington Wizards, and the Warriors lost and the Lakers won. And I just want to talk about basketball from yesterday. First, I do want to say shout out to Kyrie and the Mavericks. Kyrie went absolutely haywire, just completely insane, and him and Tim Hardaway combined for 83 points, both of them scoring over 40. Kyrie had more. I just want to say that because they both came up clutch. They both were absolutely cooking this game. And honestly, in Luka's absence, the Mavericks have maintained their record, which is something that gives us more insight about why the Mavericks have been so good this season. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, like, what do you mean? Well, what I mean from this is that, like, the Mavericks in this season have played spectacularly well. They are the sixth seed right now, but Luke is injured and he's been injured for a few games. They have more wins than the Kings. And honestly, even with their play style still being questionable and them still figuring it out, I do believe that the pick of Derek Lively and the way that they've run themselves this season has been much better. Honestly, I think that when we talk about the games which we saw yesterday, I think that it was the most exciting to see the Pelicans just completely go and hammer down on this team, the Pelicans, with their graceful skill. Also, something that I do want to talk about is that even though we did see this team win, I also want to talk about the fact that it was a very, very, very competitive matchup. And honestly, Kyrie played the probably the best game that he could have on the day of yesterday. Apart from this, we saw a few other games taking place yesterday, and in these, we saw the Miami versus Brooklyn game. This game was honestly pretty amazing as we saw Miami just battle it out with Brooklyn. And into the last moment, I do want to say some things about yesterday. Yesterday was insane. Like for basketball itself, like in this, Mavericks game, they fouled Zion on the last play instead of letting him go to the basket or go make a play. That was one of the smartest decisions that I've ever seen a coach make, apart from the hack a Shaq maybe, because it just sent Zion to the line because they gave him the ball expecting him to make a play being the superstar that he is. And if teams are going to do that, and if teams are going to abuse of Zion in that way, then the Pelicans need to watch out because that is a big hole in their effectiveness if your best player can hit free throws when they matter the most. Then I want to talk about this Golden State Warriors versus Memphis game. Golden State just completely sold. And I know that the whole league is talking about, like, is it the downfall of the Golden State Warriors dynasty? But I don't feel like we should take it that far just yet. They've had down years before, and I'm not going to wait the entire year to say if it's the downfall or not, but I definitely think that it's the start of the end. I think that the Warriors have had a great run, but great runs don't last forever. And unless they draft, they pull maybe like a San Antonio where they draft a legend, a young in their career, like San Antonio drafted Kawhi, like we've seen before when even the Spurs drafted Tim Duncan, when before you go out of one superstar, you pick up another one up right there, and then that happens to be the man. Honestly, I want to say that shout out to the um, Golden State Warriors. They've had a great run, and even though it is not over just yet, I don't think. I do want to say that maybe this season it's time to stop, tank for a pick, right? Then trade that for some type of asset because honestly, it is not working. with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is still the greatest player in the game. Not the greatest, the best. I'm sorry, but he's still the best. He dropped 41 yesterday. He's still putting up the crazy stats. He's still being, the best version of himself when it comes to his potential. And honestly, Joel Embiid looks so scary right now that I hope that in the playoffs, we could see this type of production come up. With New York and Orlando, I do want to say that Orlando has been a great team and they have been putting in the work. Even though they did fall in the standings and they've lost 6 out of their last 10, I do think that is a big reason. I do think a big reason of that has just been the teams that they're facing and the fact that they've obviously calmed down after they had such a hot start. And honestly, I do believe that the Knicks are a team which should, consider going back and trading some players because apart from that 5-game stretch that they had when they got OG, it doesn't seem like they can win anymore, and it seems like they're kind of rough, especially with Julius Randle and the way that he's been playing recently. Apart from that, we saw this game between the Lakers and the Thunder, which was a very interesting game, which the Lakers actually won. Pretty surprising, as the Thunder have been one of the best tough team beaters in the league. But honestly, that doesn't change anything from the fact that the Lakers are still the 10th seed and they have a record which is under 500. Finally, the Raptors and the Celtics faced off, where unsurprisingly, the Celtics won, but it was a pretty close game just to give them the benefit of the doubt. Finally, so the most interesting games yesterday, or the most interesting storylines, I left them for last. First, I want to say Utah is on fire. I know the whole league is talking about it now, but Jesus Christ, Utah has won like 12 out of their last 14 games. They've won 6 straight. And it just seems like whatever got into them last season just came back and got into them this season. I want to say that Keontae George is one of the best rookies that I've seen at scoring and being able to, make his own shot. I do believe that he's a negative on defense. And if we're being 1,000% honest, I'm not going to tell you that he's the player who you want to be trusting the most, but when it comes to shooting, making good shots, and being able to just be confident in taking as many shots as you give them, I feel like Keontae George is a great rookie to have. Apart from that, we saw the Atlanta Hawks just absolutely smoke the Spurs. With that, obviously, comes that the Spurs almost came back from like a 36-point deficit. But I do believe that the Hawks had a plan in mind which made them very good. And in the end, Trae Young did pull out with it on top. By the way, all of these games yesterday are the MLK games. And I want to say happy MLK Day because since yesterday, since yesterday I made a video about the day before that. I never really got to say it. So, and lastly, the biggest storyline of the day was the Pistons. I do not want to talk about the Marvin Bagley trade, as I do believe that it talks for itself. Marvin Bagley had a lot of potential, but I already said in my other video that they had too many big men, and I think that it was the right move. Maybe they didn't get the right pieces back, but I believe that Detroit having more veterans is actually a good thing. And honestly, with their success recently, or at least the game that they won yesterday, it's been pretty evidenced that they did not need more big man rotational minutes. They have Jalen Duren, they have Isaiah Stewart, and they have other guys to run. But yesterday, the Pistons beat the Wizards. Now, first, I do want to say the irony because the Pistons, the Wizards and Kyle Kuzma said, you don't want to be that team to lose to the Pistons, and yesterday they lost. And I do want to say that, honestly, even with the Pistons winning a game, I do believe that now this could be a stone for them to maybe not win a bunch of games, but at least have some confidence going into the future. This wasn't a Cade Cunningham absolute carry job. I don't even know if he played this game, but this was a game to hang your hat on and be like, yo, we can do this again a few times. With that being said, they are the Wizards. They are not the best. And Jordan Poole had 16 points. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that. But shout out to the Pistons for winning that game.